You know what show I miss? The original Teen Titans cartoon. It was just so amazing. But what happened to it? Like our DC Animated Universe video, this video will contain factual information, theories, and through the grapevine information rumors that I have found. The reason I say this is theories, rumors, and hearsay is because a lot of times when a project ends, everyone involved is under an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. This basically means that they aren't allowed to tell you why the show stopped or was ended. Sure, things leak out and then we can make our own theories out of that, and that's why we have a video like this today, but we don't typically hear the exact reason, and by the time the NDA runs out, it's so late that no one really cares. But before we can discuss the reasons why it was canceled, we need to know why it was awesome and some cool facts for context. The Teen Titans TV show was a television show that ran on the Cartoon Network from July 2003 until about January 2006. It also aired on Kids WB for a short time during that period. The television show was loosely based on the 1980s Teen Titans storylines. It was revered for its character development and serious tones in what was considered a children's cartoon, and it even won multiple awards. It proved so popular that instead of the original intended 4 seasons, it got picked up for a 5th season, and they were even told that they were going to get a 6th season, hence the cliffhanger. Now, the show starred Robin, Starfire, Raven, Beast Boy, and Cyborg. They were the principal cast of the television show, and the big villain that they fought most of the time was Deathstroke. Though in the show, he was referred to as Slade because the network feared using the name Deathstroke was a little too mature for children who would be the ones probably watching the show. Throughout the series, the characters maintained these superhero identities, and they never really took on their secret identities. It was rather simple to pull off because in the comics, Cyborg, Beast Boy, Starfire, and Raven don't traditionally maintain any long form of secret identity. But Robin, he's known for having a secret identity. The show didn't want to explore his secret life though, and they never directly called Robin by his secret identity. The reason for this is that the show wanted the kids to identify with each of the characters, and they wanted to keep that identification clean. So the kids could be like, hey, a robot guy, or an alien girl, or a witch girl. They wanted Robin to remain more of a strong lead character with nothing going on behind the scenes. So throughout the series, he was never directly called by his secret identity. The general consensus, though, is that he's Dick Grayson due to a few clues. There's 2 alternate versions of Robin that arrived, one using the name Dick Grayson in reverse, and another one taking on the role of Nightwing. There's also a scene where Raven taps into Robin's mind, and she sees a scene of 2 individuals falling from the circus. This plays into Dick Grayson's origin. Another fun note is that this show never played into the DC Animated Universe, and this did cause some problems at times. Characters from the DC Animated Universe weren't allowed to pop up in the Teen Titans show, and people from the Teen Titans show weren't technically allowed to pop up in the DCAU. Now, I already see a bunch of you firing off your comments down below, and yes, Speedy did cross over both shows in the same outfit along with Kid Flash, and they even had the same voice actors. The animation studios decided to use the same costume and characters, but according to everything that I've read, this was nothing more than a shout out to the Teen Titans TV show and didn't actually count as a real crossover. I personally think that this is one of those things where they claim it's not connected, but they've left you enough stuff to work with that fan theories could link them together. The show also managed to alter the comics they were based on, just like the DCAU did. For Teen Titans, Beast Boy took on the appearance that he had from the television show, and versions of Cyborg were made to match this cartoon version as well. Raven also took on the outfit a little later during the 1 year later event. A few characters also took on their TV show names, and they showed up in the comic books as well. But one character that everyone likes to ask me about is Red X. Now, this is an identity and a character that never crossed over into the comic books. He's never been outside of the shows, at least as of this video. Red X is an identity that Robin took on later in the series during a whole plot involving Slade, but then a second person took up the costume later. That's the individual that everyone is wondering who the real identity is because we never discovered it. For fun, maybe we'll make a full video on all of the theories as to who the second Red X was, but for now I'm gonna go with Beast Boy's theory that it's just Jason Todd. Now, the show was great, loved by all, and it was even extended past its original shelf life. So what happened? Well, according to many sources, the show was supposed to continue. It was going to continue Tara's storyline, eventually turning her into stone at the end of the whole thing, and Slade was even going to return as a primary villain. The show even had a tendency to lean each season towards a certain hero on the Titans, and even gave a season to Tara, which would make you think that it's supposed to get a 6th season. That's because in season 1 it was about Robin, in season 2 it was about Tara, season 3 was about Cyborg, 4 was about Raven, 5 was about Beast Boy, so it would make sense that they intended to make season 6 about Starfire. All of these points combined with the massive cliffhanger and unanswered questions left fans craving for that 6th season. The biggest unanswered questions were how did Tara return and why didn't she remember everyone? And who was Red X? Well, first off, depending on the source, they did get renewed for a 5th season, and when they asked if there was an intent to make a 6th season, they were told yes, and that's why those cliffhangers were left there. Of course, they didn't make the 6th season. The first thing that you would assume is that the ratings must have dropped, and that's why it got cancelled. Obviously, the show must not have been performing well, and therefore, Cartoon Network needed to find a replacement for that time slot. Well, the show is so old that I can't find any hardcore television rankings, but suffice to say, let's assume that that isn't the reason, because if it was the reason, this is where the video would end, and I would be like, it had poor ratings, and that would be the end of the video. The theories and ideas, they're a lot more fun. So first up is a statement made by Will Wheaton shortly after the cancellation. Wheaton provided the voice for Aqualad, and he stated that the show was terminated not for failing rankings, but because Warner Brothers animation executives decided that the 6th season pitch was just horrible. They didn't think the plot would be good enough to continue the series, and therefore called an end to it. Almost immediately following this, the story editor for the series, Rob Haji, stated that the decision came from Cartoon Network, not WB, and he stated that they never had plans for a 6th season due to layoffs within WB Studios in late 2005. This contradicts all of the cliffhangers and red herrings that they left, basically showing that they intended to make a 6th season, but if that's what he's saying, that is one of the theories. Another reason is that Cartoon Network honestly didn't want the show anymore. Not because it wasn't performing, but from a business standpoint, Cartoon Network wanted to start making more shows in-house. This would allow them to collect all of the revenue on their shows and merchandise instead of splitting the revenue with WB for the Teen Titans TV show. This one kind of makes sense because normally TV shows don't just jump networks, so it wouldn't have made sense for WB to move the show from Cartoon Network and onto any of their networks. Plus, Cartoon Network probably had them under some form of contract stating that they couldn't move or air it elsewhere for about 3 to 5 years. That's your standard non-compete clause. If this was the case, the show would have just been long dead. Imagine if your favorite YouTuber suddenly vanished without any word and then popped up a year later on another channel. Would you even know where they went? It's not like the situation with the Supergirl TV show where she immediately moved and they made a big deal about the move. This would have taken too long. The last big theory that I found is rather interesting. I don't even know if this started as a statement made by someone on the show or if it's just an elaborate fan theory, but according to this theory, the reason is young girls. So the show was intended to market to young boys, giving them the marketing strategy of a young male demographic. But as the show progressed, it began to pick up young female viewers. Now at first, you would think to yourself, hey, isn't that good? Isn't that more viewers? Yes, but you also need to keep in mind how marketing works. When it comes to selling additional products like toys, clothing, and other merchandising, you need to typically aim for a single demographic. At least that was the strategy they used to use back in 2003, 2004. Yes, you can pick up a few other people along the way, but there's a reason why some of those Batman toys people buy have cool features and such. They aren't aimed at the adult collector, they're aimed at the young boys. Well, Teen Titans began to steer very heavily towards young girls, and they started buying up the merchandise. The problem with that is that they aren't supposed to. Nowadays, companies pretty much aim for both sexes rather equally, but during this time of television, girls were girls and boys are boys, and girls are supposed to buy products for girl shows, and boys are supposed to buy products for boy shows. So having a boy show gain a rather large girl audience actually took money away from the girl-aimed merchandising that Cartoon Network was producing for girls. Basically, this theory states that Teen Titans became a no girls allowed club, and the girls broke that rule. Now those are the 3 prevailing theories as to why Teen Titans was canceled, and sadly we'll never know if any of those are the actual true reason or if it just was a ratings slump. But I do have my own theory, and I'll get to that in a second. From this point on, the show moved to make a TV movie, which wasn't bad, but it didn't give the fans the proper closure that they wanted. And then, we got Teen Titans Go! Now this leads to my own personal theory, and I'm gonna start this by stating something that I know I'll probably get a lot of hate for in the comments. Teen Titans Go isn't as bad as all of the haters want it to be. You see, the show is not made for the old Teen Titans fan. It was made for a much younger crowd with the goal of just cracking humor on the superhero genre, and it accomplishes this. I've met plenty of children who love Teen Titans Go, and they don't even realize what they missed out on, and maybe that's for the best since we're not getting that back. You see, Teen Titans was originally aimed for a younger audience. You can see this in the first season and a little bit in the second season. But the writers of the show quickly realized that they were gaining a much wider scope through the older audience that they were pulling in, and the older audience that was enjoying the much more complicated plots and the darker storylines. But this created a problem. How do you market to everyone? This does tie into the theory of the girl fan base, but I don't think it's as black and white as that theory states, claiming that girls ended Teen Titans. I think the wider scope did. Now we all know WB and Cartoon Network love the money from the additional products like toys and clothing. Teen Titans was supposed to cater to young boys and get their allowance, but instead it began to gather up everyone. And Cartoon Network and WB discovered that it was kind of hard to market to everyone. So instead, they canceled the show. and they focused on other shows that would allow them to narrow down their marketing to just the core groups that they wanted. But when they saw the public outcry for more Teen Titans and the popularity of the new Teen Titans shorts, they decided that they would bring it back. But this time, they would bring back what they wanted. They would target the show to a core audience, which is now young children in general. That's Teen Titans Go. Simple characters that kids can relate to with simple humor that everyone can understand. I travel to a lot of conventions and I see a lot of young kids in Teen Titan Go outfits, clothing, and buying the toys. It's popular and the kids love it. And this is most likely the reason why Teen Titans saw its end and Teen Titans Go eventually got greenlit. But hey, this is all a theory because like I said, we have no one to really talk to about this. So in the end, the whole thing could have been over ratings. Let me know what you guys think down below, what your theory is, and which one of these theories you think is the prevailing theory. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and let me know in the comments down below what other series you want me to cover in this new series that we've created, What Happened To. I'm Benny for Comicstorian. You can follow me on Twitter at Comicstorian, and I'll see you next time right here.